Get out your pencil and paper. So I wrote down here, doing the review of what transpired in the first quarter. January, February, and March are done. We're now, the first quarter's over, and we're in April, and I've got some good news, and I've got some bad news. So write the good news down. First of all, closings last month, in the month of March, we closed as a company 159 transactions. So write that down. The good news is we closed 159 transactions. Also write down, as a company, we opened 210 transactions. 210 for the month of March alone. And our first quarter, in terms of overall numbers in closings and openings, was up 30% over the same period last year. And last year's first quarter was pretty darn good. Everybody write that down? Okay, that's your good news. The bad news. The bad news is we closed 159 transactions last month. The bad news is we had 210 transactions that went pending. And the bad news is our first quarter is up 30% over last year. Okay, well, wait a minute, Neil. You said it was good news, and now you're saying it's bad news. What are you talking about? So think about this. Most of you are doing better in almost every single case. You have some more pendings, you have some more closings, you have some more escrows, you have some more listings. Things are happening. You prospect more. You close sooner and more often, and you know what to say and how to say it. You're better today than you were this time last year. So write this word down. Here's the problem. Write the word complacency. Write down the word complacency. Webster's definition of complacency: self-satisfaction, especially when accompanied by unawareness of actual dangers. Complacency. Self-satisfaction, you're satisfied with yourself when accompanied by unawareness of actual dangers that are ahead of us. So Webster's also has, just below it, the definition, it has synonyms. Things that mean similar things. So here's some of the synonyms for complacency. Big-headed, ego, pompousness, pride, pridefulness, self-conceit, self-esteem, self-glory, self-importance. Complacency. Complacency. You think to yourself, wow, I had a good month. I had a pretty darn good quarter. I got a couple dollars in the bank. So therefore, I am good. Therefore, I am good. You look at the current closings, you look at the current pendings, you look at your current listings. What you're not doing is you're not looking outward toward the future and fully understanding that it was your consistent hard work, your consistent focus, the activities that you did 90 or 120 days ago, or even a year ago in terms of learning the scripts and dialogues that brought you to this place. Complacency. So what happens is you tend to take a pause. You take a slight breath. I can breathe a little bit. I got a couple of deals closed. I got a few deals pending. I got a little bit of the pressure off of me. You back off the pedal slightly. Complacency. You think to yourself, wow, maybe I can take advantage of a little bit of my good fortune. I worked hard. I deserve it. We know, as a group, the market's changing a little bit. So on top of that, we look at the marketplace and say, you know, I can back off a little bit. I can be a little bit complacent here. I can not have to work quite as hard. We think to ourselves, the hard part is behind us. The hard part is behind us. The market is changing, therefore listings are a little bit easier to get, they're a little bit easier to sell. Things are happening in the marketplace. I wrote down here, most people don't consider themselves as complacent because they think complacency means lazy, and they're not lazy. Think about this for a second. They think of complacency as being lazy. However, I know agents, and you do too, that work 70 hours a week, and that's certainly not a lazy agent, 70, 80-hour weeks. But they're so content with their results that they don't hold themselves accountable for their daily activities. Think about that. You're not moving yourself forward. You're working lots of hours, but you're not getting the results that you should be getting. Complacency is almost always a product of success or perceived success. Complacency is almost always a product of success or perceived success. And I wrote down here, the perception can remain long after success has disappeared. The biggest disease that we have facing us, and what's interesting is, you may not even think you're complacent. How could I be complacent? I'm not even earning enough money yet. Write this down. You are where you are because it's okay with you. Because if it wasn't okay, you'd change. You know you'd change. You'd say, that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to do that anymore. Or I am going to do that in the future. It's all about complacency. I wrote down here, as your leader, it's my job to recognize this, point it out, and develop a plan for you. You may not think you're complacent. I'm here to tell you, you are. Ask me privately, and I will prove it to you. Every single one of you. Okay? We wrote, this is a kind of a definition of a coach, is telling people what they don't want to hear to get them to learn the things they don't want to do so they can have the things they've always wanted to have. That's my job as your leader. I'm not going to take my foot out of your back. I'm not going to do it. You don't want me to. We have a very interesting time right now. The market is changing. Truthfully, listings are getting harder and harder and harder to get. As the listing inventory drops and the sales stay about the same, properties start getting a little bit harder to list. They get more competitive. You have got to do everything you can to stay ahead of that curve. You have to get better at your listings. You have to get better at prospecting. You have to get better at objection handling. You have to get better now, because your competitors are coming back into this business. Here's what's happening. Since 2005 to 2011, first part of 2012, the amount of real estate agents has dropped dramatically in our industry. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Absolutely. Why? Because they can't make a living and they're hearing nothing but bad things about the marketplace. Shift gears. End of 2011, first part of 2012. What are you hearing? The market's starting to get better or starting to get worse? What are you starting to hear? It's starting to get better, right?
Yes.
Well, you have a lot of real estate agents, friends, relatives, co-workers, etc., that pulled themselves out of the business for 10,000 different reasons, most of which they weren't willing to do what needed to be done to get the job done. All of those people, ladies and gentlemen, are starting to come back into the business. They are your competitors. You can either bury them quickly because you know what to say and how to say it at a really high level, and you prospect at a very high level, and you stay in front of the curve, which is what we're trying to do right now. If you look at any of the statistics, we beat most offices in our marketplace hands down by 20, 30, even 40%. I'm not going to let you back off 1 inch right now because you need that margin, that winning margin, because at the end of the year, this is going to look different because more people are going to come into the business. Today, you needed to be a professional to get a listing. You needed to know what to say and how to say it. You need to prospect at a really high level. And people who were giving their listings to their nieces and nephews back in 2004, 2003, 2005, they were giving listings to nieces and nephews because it didn't take anything to sell a house, right? Say yes.
Yes.
That was our competition. You can't beat that competition. You can't beat nepotism. You just can't. I don't care how great you are. At some point, they're going to give it to the niece and nephew, and the daughter, the aunt, the uncle, and you're not going to get a chance at that listing. Today, you still have that chance. Today, you can still ramp yourself up and make yourself look totally different from your competition. Your choice. You can start to get complacent and rest on your successes, or you can double down right now. You can say, that's it, what I've done in the past is good, but what I'm going to do for the rest of the year is going to be great. I'm going to do a number of 5-5-10s. I'm going to learn my scripts and dialogues. I'm going to, this week, tackle that objection handler. I'm going to make sure that I do what I'm supposed to do for the balance of the year. Or not. And start to lose a little bit of market share every single month. I personally am not interested in that. We have an opportunity right now. We've made it. We're here. We have the lottery ticket, that $640 million lottery ticket. Each and every one of you have it. You know what it is?
License.
It's your real estate license. Every single one of you has it. It's your choice what you do with it. How you make it work for you. Bill Gates said, if you're born poor, it's not your mistake. But if you die poor, it is certainly your fault. Think about that. If you're born poor, it's not your mistake. But if you die poor, it's your fault. You, and you, and you, and you. Yours. No one else's. You have the opportunity. You have that real estate license. Now let's go out and take advantage of it and make this the best week we've ever had in this business. Thank you.